Disneyland's throwing a party, and you're all invited. Host Tony Danza is all choked up with special guests from the cast of Cheers.
Everybody loves Disney.
Miss Piggy.
Oh, I wish I could be Cinderella.
And the Muppets.
Know what I mean?
Ernest.
Ernest who?
Charlie Fleischer.
No one has ever gotten wet in my boat.
President Reagan, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, and a whole cast of your favorite Disney characters. It's Disneyland's 35th anniversary celebration.
Welcome, everyone, to our second summer of wacky hijinks as we continue our series, the Medfield College Film Society presents. This is a little different than what we're used to. Each member of our illustrious society picks their own content. There are only two stipulations. One, it has to be available on a streaming platform somewhere. No VHS tapes or film strips, please. Second, it can't have had a major theatrical release. So this opens the door to the lesser-known specials and films that you may have forgotten about, but live on thanks to the internet, the superhighway of information. You're going to notice that this format is a little different from our feature film episodes. So in addition to being picked by our members, they will also be presented by the member that picked the movie or special. That's a lot. Let's talk to the members of our society. We'll start with my brother, Mr. Michael Crawford. How's it going, Michael?
I am great, and let me tell you why. Right before we came to air, I saw on the Twitter machine a local business reporter say that Bojangles returning to the Orlando market.
Oh, yes.
I didn't know it left. I didn't know it was there to begin with, let alone leave.
It was
several steps of
the franchisee decided to go out of business and go into like shoe stores or something like that. Anyway, doesn't matter. They're back, baby.
I've decided to build a roller coaster instead of franchising Bojangles.
Exactly. Yeah. So possibly more exciting than the vaccine. I don't know, but it's close.
Also, Bojangles decided to sponsor former Carolina running back Javonte Williams. So great week for Bojangles.
I mean,
what
a personal brand that is. Man.
Yes, that's right. All right. Up in the mountains, in the icy peaks of North Carolina, Mr. Andy Brown. How's it going, Andy?
Hey guys, I was having a pretty crappy day, but now that I'm excited for Michael just because of that news, you know, I'm just like, yeah, just made my day. Congratulations, Michael.
Thank you. I'm so I'm beside myself.
Both business for everybody.
A major
shows you how sad my life is.
I'm happy for you, man.
You got a Bojangles not far from your house. You're doing all right.
I got two.
Oh, even better. Where's the other one?
Okay. And tonight, our presenter, in addition to all his other titles, Mr. Robert McSwain. How's it going, Robert?
Yeah, boy, I'm exhausted. This really took it out of me.
Hey, I'm exhausted.
Hey, come on. What, you don't like prepping for a podcast or something? What's wrong with you?
This is supposed to be the easy part, you know. We're in the summer. It's all,
I'm getting mine out of the way. Right out the
summer
gate,
series. Yeah.
Try doing the third act of Herbie Goes Bananas.
Yeah,
Tell me how tired you are.
I was listening to that the other day and just thinking how fitting it was that you were handed the third act of Herbie Goes Bananas, Andy.
So James watched it, my oldest, and he said it was pretty good.
Yeah.
He was feeling it.
Target demo right there.
So, well, I'll revisit that when he's in his 20s and see what he says.
You have to sit and watch it all and tell me what you think. But we're not talking about Herbie tonight, Robert. What are we talking about?
We are talking about a true classic in my realm from my fourth grade year. It's a Disney special that was on heavy rotation in my home. And we are going to be talking about the Disneyland 35th anniversary special. So buckle up.
Already, I've got a question. why would a anniversary celebration special be on heavy rotation? I can understand a movie and I can understand, a TV show or something, but why would that be on?
Well, we're going to get into that. So,
Okay.
I mean, I think it's self-evident.
yeah, it's going to
you
explain
guys.
itself by the end of the episode.
I hope so.
Well, all that to say, it was on heavy rotation in our house as well, Andy. We
Yeah,
had
it
that on
was.
VHS, dubbed from TV. Just
I gotta get some new friends.
So much so that I have not seen this in I don't even know how long. And there was instant recall of every possible nuance of every line read.
so many, yeah,
That's amazing.
so much recall. What's the history of this episode, Robert?
Well, I have been doing some digging. So this aired on NBC on the Magical World of Disney, February 4th, 1990. So this is roughly, now buckle up guys, this is roughly 2 weeks after the epic McSwain Crawford inaugural trip that really started this whole thing, where our two families went to Disney World together. So maybe someday
There you go.
when some fan is doing a retrospective on our podcast, they'll interview us and we can pinpoint that moment as the defining moment for all of this. Because after that, nothing was really the same, I think, for 3/4 of this podcast.
True. And of course, Andy has been grafted in even just to have to listen to these stories. So it's the beginning for him too.
That's right. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we were just starved for more content. We got through with that trip and we're ready for more, I guess.
Yeah, 2 weeks later, this dropped, and
The Avengers had to go back and get an Infinity Stone. They would send it back to that time.
exactly,
And-
that was they would be meeting us at Fort Wilderness. And
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
It would be like an Infinity Stone and a wagon wheel or something.
So the episode was directed by John Landis, which was news to me. After all these years of watching this, I didn't realize that.
It makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
Well, you may remember, if you're not familiar with John
Does it?
Landis, you may remember him from other TV specials like George Burns' Comedy Week, Mr. Warmth, and the Don Rickles Project. And of course, Slasher.
Those sound terrible. George Burns Comedy Week.
Yes, and Mr. Warmth,
thanks.
the Don Rickles Project. Everyone remembers that one. And Slasher. Hosted by TV star Tony Danza, not to be confused with the other Tonys that he played. Had special appearances by the cast of Cheers. Actors playing their beloved roles: Rhea Perlman, George Wendt, John Ratzenberger, Woody Harrelson, Kelsey Grammer, and Babe Newirth as Lilith. Charlie Fleischer, coming off of his role as Roger Rabbit, plays multiple roles. As Disney was closing the deal with Jim Henson, his Muppets were playing major roles in this special, along with other specials that were airing around this time. But this one featured Miss Piggy and Gonzo. Jim Varney, who starred in the Ernest series produced by Disney, was about to release his third movie, Ernest Goes to Jail, later that spring. He has an appearance with, one of the, I guess you don't want to call it acts, but one of the little series.
I love Ernest Goes to Jail.
Classic.
Maybe we'll make it to that someday.
Seen at the Ruby Twin in Franklin, North Carolina.
nice
by me
memory.
by me and
Yes.
Jeff.
Weeks earlier, still somewhat new CEO and chairman Michael Eisner stood at a podium at the Disneyland Hotel and announced his ambitious company-wide plan he dubbed the Disney Decade, or Decade of Disney, depending on who you talk to. The Disney stock was on the rise. Things were looking up for them, for more parks, more attractions, more resorts, but more everything. Eisner said it was a time to reimagine Disneyland, a statement that I'm sure made the faithful shudder, because his reimagination may not align with what they needed, but that's a whole nother podcast. This highly produced, shot in the park special was intended to put Disneyland, the park that started it all as far as theme parks were concerned in the front of all of this and sort of shine the spotlight on it. And not covered in this episode, there was also a Disney story hosted by the late, great Night Court Judge Harry Anderson that kind of piggybacked with this special, but it wasn't part of this special, as I recall. But it was around the same time.
Is an incrable special.
That's a great one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's pretty
It's
crazy.
amazing. Yeah.
I dipped into it a
history
little bit. But the whole thing was to try to build up the Disneyland park and kind of talk about what they were doing and try to, kind of heighten its place inside the company. I mean, I'm not sure it really needed that much more heightening, but I guess they felt like they really needed to do something. So they did a 35th anniversary special, which I thought was a little odd, but I guess that kind of explains it being it was 1990. It was the 35th. Hey, let's do a special about Disneyland to kind of kick this whole thing off.
I think they'd also seen like a bunch of good results from their 15th and 20th. I guess the 20th hadn't happened yet. The 15th anniversary of Walt Disney World celebration was a big one. Can I just say that I can't believe that? I mean, Disneyland felt so old.
Yeah.
Yes.
When this
Yes.
special came out, and it's only 35
Now we're
years old.
doing 50 on Disney World. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that too. It seemed so old. But yeah, I mean, you think Disneyland had big specials for the 25th and the 30th already going into this, and probably the 20th.
And the 10th, Michael, and the 10th.
Yeah, and the 10th at Disney World. Yeah, and the 10th at Disneyland. Yeah. So there was a precedent for sure.
So one odd connection to the special that I found was that Deborah Hill was attached as an executive producer. Deborah is best known for working with John Carpenter as the writer-producer of Halloween, The Fog, Escape from New York, and Escape from L.A. So kind of a weird executive producer to kind of hitch on to this. All right.
Love those movies.
No, yeah. I mean, I kind of set it up for that gag, but it didn't land.
Those people had all been chased out.
So, Michael, did I miss anything there?
Nothing I know of.
Okay. So I picked this one. I touched on it a little bit at the beginning. It was in heavy rotation. I actually wanted to do this last summer, but I unwisely punted and went with another movie. But simply, I picked it because of all the Disney specials I saw as a kid. This one sort of stood out in front. It's a lot of it, I think, is because it was one of the only ones I saved. We recorded it to VHS, similar to the Crawfords. So I had the copy. I think Ernest played a big part into why I liked it and why it was on rotation for me. The Ernest movies kind of scratched me where I itched when I was that age. But really, I think when I just needed to burn some time on a rainy Saturday, it was just 45 minutes. Hey, let's put it in. I mean, I'll watch it. So it was sort of like background noise for me, I think, a lot when I was growing up. But it all was this, like Michael was saying, as I rewatched it now, which I'd seen it maybe 2 or 3 years ago, it was just as fresh. I mean, everything was just right there. I remembered everything. There wasn't any surprises. But another thing why we watched it a lot was we had a conversion van as a child. And which had a VHS and TV in the rear. And I would always throw it in the car with us when we'd go to Disney World and watch it to kind of get myself pumped up, even though we weren't going to Disneyland, but the Haunted Mansion and the Jungle Cruise were all, attractions that we would see at Disney World. So, I mean, I think that's why I picked it, why I liked it. So once again, I think we've established that 3/4 of us had seen this. So Andy, did you even know this existed?
Nope.
All right.
I was perfectly happy knowing that it did not exist in this world.
So on a nostalgic front, I did mention that it was on VHS and I recorded it from WCNC, or maybe it was WYFF. Shout out to the two affiliates that served Shelby at the time on Cleveland County's Cablevision. But back in the day, we had both. We could pick which NBC affiliate we wanted. Either way, it was
Freedom.
recorded. The Ernest parts and the Jungle Cruise gags, I think, really kind of stuck to me as a 10-year-old. And I mean, I still kind of chuckle at them a little bit now. But I would watch it several times a year just because, as I mentioned, as up until my early teens, I think. And would you say it was a similar experience with the Crawfords?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. We watched this one a ton.
We were always interested in Disneyland stuff. We watched a lot of the 60s, the Pirates of the Caribbean to the World of Tomorrow. In this one, it was always interesting to see the differences between Disneyland and Walt Disney World, because you didn't think you were ever going to go to Disneyland, or at least for the foreseeable future. So
Right.
I always liked the Disneyland content.
Until our parents taped over it.
Ooh.
I should mention something.
I still
that
have
I'm
mine
still
somewhere.
angry about. I have the tape, but it's been taped.
But nothing
It's-
on it.
It's on the label.
But it's got an episode of Dallas on it now instead.
Yeah,
Dynasty.
that was a bitter discovery one day for me.
That was a dark day. I remember that day.
Yeah.
So, with that said, let's unpack this beast, because we got a lot to uncover. And it sounds like we have one member here who's maybe a little disgruntled with this pick. So we'll be interested to hear what he has to say. It's the Magical World of Disney, also known as Walt Disney's Disneyland, Walt Disney Presents, Walt Disney's Wonderful World of Color, The Wonderful World of Disney, Disney's Wonderful World, Walt Disney, period, the Disney Sunday Movie. But for this episode, it was the Magical World of Disney, a true Sunday night tradition in the McSwain home. We were greeted with what I would call a pop-up book of Disneyland, with various prominent attractions and some really nice motion graphic animations circa 1990 that our graphic design artist Todd would truly find hysterical. It's Disneyland's 35th anniversary special, hosted by Tony Danza. Okay,
hang on a second. All right, so I got a question.
All right,
I
go
always
for it.
thought this Disney whatever thing, this Sunday night stuff, I always thought it came on ABC. And so, but I was really surprised that this is an NBC thing. Or am I missing?
Oh, yeah.
It switched around.
Yeah, okay.
And this was before Disney owned ABC. So, I mean, that's when it really locked in on ABC. But it had been on ABC like intermittently. Like at times it had been on all three major networks, just like switching around. And at this point in the late 80s, it had gone from ABC to NBC. So for a couple of years.
It was a good run in there.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
It was.
Okay.
It was like the highlight of our childhood, is this kind of couple of years on NBC, I feel like.
Yeah, it was like the peak production values for sure.
We cut immediately to the famous establishing shot of Cheers, as Andy pointed out, an NBC property. Or not, he didn't point out that Cheers was, but that we were on NBC. And we were quickly reminded that NBC and Disney used to be best buds, at least in their 80s and early 90s until they purchased ABC. Norm, Cliff, and Carla are watching mud wrestling as the quote-unquote Amazon Queen and the masked bimbo are wrapping up their bout. Don't recall mud wrestling being a thing, or at least not a televised thing.
Well, we've never been to Boston, man. Yeah.
I guess maybe in Boston it is a thing. I don't know. Maybe that was a Boston joke. Judging from the sparse crowd at the bar, it's a Sunday evening. We get a little more context of that in a moment.
Yeah, no Sam and Diane. Yeah.
No Sam, no Diane.
It's a Sunday evening. Maybe they're out. I mean, maybe Sam doesn't work on Sunday evening. So
I guess so.
Rebecca.
Frasier and Lilith come in, and Frasier is disappointed that he may have missed the Leather Queen, another wrestler. Okay, so Frasier being Frasier, I find it a little hard to believe that he's up to date on mud wrestling, especially going off of what I know about his character from his spin-off show. It just doesn't seem like that's something he would have cared about, but maybe it's a big deal at the bar there at Cheers. So, very young Woody Harrelson comes in with his mullet and brightly colored striped rugby shirt, and he wants to watch the Disney special, indicating that it's 7 p.m. on a Sunday. And again, as I pointed out, maybe that explains where Sam and Rebecca are. Woody wants to watch the Disney's 35th anniversary special, but Carla and company aren't interested. After some classic Woody gaffes calling Tony Danza Tony Mercelli, which Lilith corrects and says it's not Tony Mercelli, it's Tony Banta. They conclude that it is Tony, in fact, Tony Danza. And then the debate continues, and we shift gears into who's hot and who's not. And they are trying to figure out which Disney female heroine is hot.
Different time, man.
Yes. Let me tell you, this scene is full of stuff, and I was like, man, this whole special is full of stuff that would never fly today past the legion of lawyers and brand management inside Disney.
It's it's funny you should say, because I'm gonna go into depth on that later in my notes, but. There's a scene, and we all know the scene which is coming up, which the lawyers would not like. But yeah, you're right. This is crazy.
So, Robert, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You and I saw Tony Danza in the flesh at one point in our lives. Do you remember that? Yeah.
No.
What?
Really?
You don't remember that, Robert?
You don't. I'm stunned that you don't remember this. When you and I went to Houston to visit a mutual friend, we went and caught a baseball game. The Braves playing the Astros.
Right.
Tony Danza threw out the first pitch.
Yeah.
And we were like,
wow.
we kept going, hey, it's Tony Danza. Ayo,
That's right. Man, that trip was a blur to me now. But that's right. I forgot of that we saw Tony at the game.
I thought that was a special thing for you. Yeah.
Well, especially with this special in the rear view, you would think you'd really remember that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm stunned.
Oops. Well, thank you for bringing that up to my. I completely blanked on that one, Andy. Wow.
All right, I'm good. I'll see y'all in
All right,
about
we'll
20
see
minutes.
at the end. See at the finish line. Okay, so Cliff is partial to Cinderella, but Norm is more into The Little Mermaid, which is making me a tad uncomfortable at this point. Luckily, Frasier breaks the tense moment by saying his pick would be Snow White, as he describes her and the obvious similarities to Lilith. Cliff decides to take the reins back and makes it awkward again by saying he actually likes Lady from Lady and the Tramp. So
Can I just say that Cliff, obviously he has gone on to be voiced in almost every Pixar movie, and now it's just like really distracting. Just to be like, it's a Pixar. It's like,
Is he dead?
No.
He's still there.
I don't think so.
Wow.
I don't believe
God, I can't believe you just killed Cliff.
Cliff, maybe.
I don't know. I was just curious.
Woody begins to talk about his trip to Disneyland when he was 10 on quote-unquote opening day. We get some back and forth with Woody and Lilith as they explain that it couldn't have been opening day. Woody is heartbroken to find out that Disneyland has parades and fireworks and is clean and tidy every day. Woody then says everyone goes to Disneyland, meets Mickey, sees the parade, and goes to the haunted house and falls in love with the girl of their dreams in a dark corridor. Woody begins to tell his story, which has sparked everyone's interest, and we get some wavy lines as we flash back to a young actor playing Woody, who's barely getting through his lines.
Oh yeah.
Okay, hold on, just a second. First of all, I want to check in with Andy. What are you thinking at this point?
Well, I'm just really confused. I mean, at this point, I'm enjoying the Cheers part, and it's strange to me that they're talking about this, in front of a live studio audience who's laughing at all the jokes. I mean,
Yeah.
the writing is on par to what an episode would be like for Cheers. So it's not. I'm on board. I'm like, wow, this isn't as terrible as I was expecting. It's not the Musketeers at Disney World or whatever that was.
Oh Lord.
But so and I'm enjoying the jokes. Yeah, there was the awkward moments, but I'm still enjoying it. So far, I'm in. I'm okay. I'm along with the ride.
Yeah, but let me say that on the rewatch, I had forgot that it was like cold open straight into Cheers, and that was kind of confusing. That must have been real confusing at the time. Be like, welcome to the Disneyland 35th anniversary. And then it's Cheers. And there's no you're so used with these specials to have, and featuring Tony Danza and the cast of Cheers. There's always that opening bit. And then the host comes out and welcomes you. And to have it just be just kind of this I don't know, just kind of chill scene in Cheers, which, by the way, James Burrows directed. They had the Cheers creative team behind it, and it's such a weird way to start a special, but it was so at the time, because you're right, it does feel like a legit Cheers episode, but it's like, oh my gosh, Cheers is talking about Disneyland. That's amazing, but very strange.
Something else, and let's set the scene a little bit of these kids at in the flashback.
Oh man, yes, please.
So yeah, Woody's buddies. Woody's a little apprehensive about going into the Haunted Mansion. His friends, who are sporting some very 80s, 90s haircuts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is not 19. What would have been 1950 something, 60. I guess 60s for Woody.
60s for Woody. Yeah. As a kid, and this is so dumb, but as a kid, it bothered me that everybody's flashbacks in this episode, because this is an episode with a lot of flashbacks, everybody looks so 80s in the flashbacks. This little kid with his bowl cut.
No effort.
No effort made to make it look like the 50s or the 60s or the 70s. It is pure turn of the 90s in every flashback.
Shoes, huge white Zach Morris shoes, all of it.
Yes.
Yeah. Might as well had a fanny pack on.
Yeah. Those jewel tone rugby shirts and everything. Yeah. Ladies in turtlenecks, dark colors.
So Woody's using his mom as an excuse that, hey, we got to get back. My mom's going to be waiting. And launches off into a couple of your mom jokes. Again, more 80s, 90s than what I would think a bunch of kids in the late 60s would have been doing your mom jokes. But
this is, again, this is where it really kicked in for me of remembering every nuance. I don't know whether I had seen this segment more because it's at the front of the episode than some of the others, but the Woody's a chicken, Woody, I'm not a chicken, and just all the stupid things his friends say and his weird line reads were all just burned into my brain.
Yeah, the weird line reads especially because it's
gosh.
they're not very good.
Was this kid like a producer's kid or something? What is going on here?
Yeah, somebody owes somebody a favor.
Yeah,
One of
this
Max
kid has never
Landis's jerk
acted
friends. Yeah,
in his life. Oh man!
So after the Woody's the chicken line, his buddies split.
As they say, "Come on, let's go."
Yeah.
Which we would always say after that. Come on, let's go.
Woody approaches a cast member, but wait a second. This cast member looks familiar. What movie he's from? Anyway, guess we wouldn't know what movie he's from, but then we probably wouldn't recognize his voice. But strange, odd cast member who is running the Haunted Mansion ride.
Yeah.
Speaking with a lisp, Woody is trying to communicate with the cast member, and he's stammering. He's nervous. He decides it's time to split. He starts to walk backward and awkwardly bumps into a girl who is just standing there unnaturally. Maybe she's not really human. Who knows? Nah, she's got to be human. Maybe she just doesn't move when people bump into her. She just stands there. But I thought it was just kind of because she doesn't like, does she even put her hands up? I mean, she just sort of just, I thought it was the whole interaction between the characters is all very awkward and unnatural, not just with the poor girl, but as we pointed out, the let's go moment and where they grab each other. And
you guys say it's awkward, but to me, it's like just as bad as anything else I've watched from you guys have made me watch. And so I'm not really noticing all the awkward. I'm like, yeah, that's just like any other thing I've seen. So I'm just like, okay.
Okay, so I was 10 when this came on. As we mentioned earlier, the McSwain Crawford trip had just happened. But I was a huge fan of this actress. Like, I had a huge 10-year-old crush on her. So.
Precious. Yeah. You like ribbons there, Robert?
Big into ribbons.
Well, hey, I got a story about the ribbon here in a minute.
Oh, my. Here we go.
And it is not about me. It's about somebody else in this podcast. So look out.
Okay.
It's coming.
Okay.
Anyway, so the cute girl convinces Woody to ride the ride with her, and hilarity ensues.
Where are the crowds? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I know. There's literally no one else there. And he's just kind of hanging out.
I will give them credit for actually shooting it in a doom buggy. I mean,
I noticed that too. I was like, that's
surprised.
not. Yeah, that couldn't have been easy to do shoot in there because it's
Well,
really dark.
I got my very next note here. I pointed that out that they're in a doom buggy, and I thought it was a prop one because either they were moving the camera or they were moving the doom buggy, but it was pitching left and right, which they don't do that. Like it's like almost swinging back and forth.
It does that.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, I didn't. So, all right, maybe they just had a camera on a mounted on one in front of it. I don't know, but yeah, they're in a doom buggy and they're having the time of their lives, sort of. We get a really bad gag with a knight in armor as Woody passes it. Woody says, "Boy, I wish I had that knight's armor," and the knight exclaims, "Sorry, this one's already taken."
Okay, we need to talk about this for a second.
Okay,
because when this came out, I was like, "How dare they do that?"
Yeah.
But in Disneyland, at one point, they did put a real person in the night suit, and when he would go up and scare people in doom buggies, which sounds absolutely terrifying.
I did not know. I felt the same way. I always thought that's really hokey and bad.
It always it would make Jeff and me so mad because it's like this, anytime they misrepresented what it was actually like that's not really what it's like. They don't do that. But yeah, when we found out that it was something they actually did once upon a time, my mind was blown.
There's a hilarious picture of it at one point, a stock photo of the knight leaning into the doom buggy and people losing their minds.
Wow.
Which it would be so scary.
I had no idea that they did that. That's crazy. And that's jeez. So our next scene, we get to see the late great Leota Toombs. And Michael, can you provide us any insight on who Madame Leota was?
Well, yeah, she started off at Disney as ink and painter for the animation studio. And she married Harvey Toombs, who was an animator there. Eventually, she wound up working for Imagineering in its early days, doing just a lot. Back then, everybody did everything, kind of. And I guess she was a figure finisher and just an all-around artist kind of person. And they kind of, when they were going to test this effect, they did it with her face. She was a really good-looking woman and sort of nice bone structure. So I guess they decided to try out this effect with a mold of her face, and I decided they liked it. So that's her in the film. They don't use her voice, but then her voice is used for the little Leota at the end of the ride, the hurry back one. That's actually her voice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So she was a longtime Imagineer.
Did they use her daughter for when they re-recorded it?
Yeah, her daughter is Kim Irvine, who started at Imagineering in probably the 70s, back when like everybody in Imagineering was like, most people were children of somebody who had worked there. It was a very sort of nepotistic organization. And so her daughter's Kim Irvine, who wound up being art director for Disneyland. And when they did the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay for Haunted Mansion, and they needed to do new Leota footage for the Crystal Ball, they just, her daughter kind of looks like her. So they had somebody else do the voice, but then had her do the face because it worked. It like fit the mold pretty well.
I want to say a couple of things. First of all, there's the guy trying to get out of the casket going, Woody, Woody, Woody.
Yes.
And I think they shot some Haunted Mansion footage of just the ride. Some of it I had seen before, but some of it I don't remember seeing. So just an interesting note.
Yeah, there's lots of just sort of moving, sweeping shots of the ride as they cut between the actors and them interacting with the ride. But we get a lot of Pepper's ghost effects, which always blew my mind as a kid. I knew it wasn't real, obviously, but I never understood how they did it until later. But Woody's special lady friend asks if he wants to dance, and he's like, "Where?" She's like, "Down there," and they just whisk away, and they're magically transported to the ballroom floor for an awkward 6th grade style dance.
No dancer is Woody.
That is sure. That's real method acting right there. They are living that part. That's very real. A lot more real for her than her being like, "We're looking for a 2-seater hardtop." When she got into the
Oh, that was rough.
Yes.
Hey, tall, dark, and ugly.
We're looking for a 2-seater hardtop.
She's so sassy. Yeah, their dancing was very accurate.
The dancing abruptly ends.
This is a great
just
move.
Cuts, and we're back on the ride. We get some nice shots of Thurl Ravencroft as he sings on his bust. And I remember, Jeff, you wowing me with the information when we were on one of our trips, certainly one of our earlier trips to Disney World, that he was also the voice of Tony the Tiger.
Correct.
And that really impressed me for some reason.
A lot of love for Thurl. When they go on that shot back, they go to like an immediate to one of those pop-up ghosts. It's like, "Wah!" And she's like, "Fun, huh?" And his look take at her is so amazing.
Yeah, that's a good moment.
That's
they
legit.
just hold there for a while. It's so great.
The ride ends, and Woody invites his lady friend to meet his mom. "You two would get along great." And she vanishes. So I got to tell you, that line will make most women split. So
yeah. "I want you to meet my 2 friends and my mom." Yeah. So just chill, dude.
On the ground is a single piece of pink ribbon. Wait, is she a ghost? As he leaves and meets up with his friends, he waves to her on the balcony, and she just vanishes into thin air. Woody rubs the ribbon on his face and closes his eyes. So,
great
my story here.
Oh, that rope.
But hang on a second. Hang on.
Awkward.
Sorry.
Okay.
Before you get to your story, she gives him a kiss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, how you going to gloss over that?
Sorry. Well.
Yeah.
Little
Kiss on the
sugar
cheek
for
already,
Woody,
man.
yeah.
It's like, wow. You just,
Ghosts move fast, man. She's...
Yeah. I love how he's like, the whole time he's like, "What's wrong with you?" And she's like, "I had a great time, smooch."
Yeah. Mwah.
What's wrong with you?
So I believe this was been 92. So it would have been our second family trip together. And we rode this ride. And as we're exiting, Michael elbows Jeff and does a reenactment of that scene as he looks back up the haunted mansion. I was sort of maybe 3 or 4 steps behind you. And I went, oh, it's the whole, it's the Woody thing. But for some reason, that burned into my memory. Like I just remembered it and thought it was
Woody.
But see, Andy, that's like all of our like interactions were just one giant big inside joke. Everything
Classic bit, the classic Woody bit. I'm just gonna go over and start like leaving ribbons outside the exit of mansion on the ground, like every day. Like some, like crazy person who like leaves flowers on Marilyn Monroe's grave or something like that. Like every day, I'll go leave a ribbon outside the haunted mansion every day,
and ride your 2-seater hardtop through. Yeah.
So we wavy line, fade back to cheers. The patrons are now all in agreement that they'll watch the special, and we get Art Linkletter and Ronnie Reagan at the train station on opening day.
Well.
We flash forward to former
Mommy?
President Ronald Reagan, the great communicator, coming down the steps at the train station with Mickey as he rededicates Disneyland for its 35th anniversary.
I got to say, I was always impressed with the stances that Mickey and Minnie have while he's giving his speech.
Oh,
I never noticed that.
Well,
like Minnie's holding her hands like down and out. So she's just like, it looks like
like the flared hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll like freeze and then they'll clap for his clap lines and then they'll go back to their one. It's really hilarious.
What was Mickey doing? I remember Minnie doing that.
I think he's doing some kind of like stately stance, but both of them look like, smile, like, here's your picture, like we're gonna run in the Reagan speech again, guys. Go back. Let's do it again.
We cut to a bunch of shots of the Fiesta party. I guess the 35th anniversary is the Fiesta anniversary. Who knew? In between shots of the Fiesta parade, we get shots of world leaders visiting Disneyland, along with some Disney legends.
Great montage.
Most notably Annette and Fess Parker.
Mm-hmm. And JFK.
Well, as far as Disney legends, JFK's not a Disney legend. But yeah, I mean, everybody. JFK, Robert Kennedy. They didn't show Nixon. I was a little disappointed.
It's odd because Nixon had the most involvement. Harry Truman.
Yeah, Truman. Yep.
Yeah, Ike.
Ike was there.
This was a time when they were really into inflatables.
Yes.
And they had these parades. They had one for the 20th anniversary of Walt Disney World in just a couple of years where they had the giant inflatable parade floats.
Then they had the thing at World Showcase where they had the inflatables around the lagoon. Yeah, big. And they must have somebody must have had a concession somewhere.
Yeah.
Inflatable
Eisner's nephew started an inflatable business. I don't know.
Yeah.
We are jarred back with a quick cut to Michael Eisner waiting out front, the main gate, looking for Tony Danza. Couple just walks up to Eisner and sort of stares at him. I'd probably do the same in their shoes, but Eisner greets them. Hey, have you seen Tony Danza? Which is an unusual way to greet people. And I think I maybe mentioned to Jeff on text that I think we should put that on a T-shirt for Medfield College Film Society. Have you seen Tony Danza? Michael Eisner gives a normal response. Welcome to Disneyland. Is this your first visit? Which he probably should have led with. And then they say, well, no, it's not. By the way, have you seen Tony Danza? That would have made more sense. But yeah, just to jump right into. He's always thinking about himself. Mike was. The couple reveal themselves to be Christine Graff and Michael Schwartner. And they conveniently pull out a snapshot, Michael does, from his breast coat pocket. And they are the first two kids into the park when Disneyland opened.
I really like his vibe.
Yeah. So, Michael, do you have any more insight on those two?
I don't. I don't know much about them. They would kind of make it during this era, make appearances, but never do anything besides like, hey, look, it's them. They were the ones, and that was pretty much it. He's got a nice little sweater vest.
I thought I had read where at some point they were arrested for some sort of Ponzi scheme. I'm sorry, I'm just making stuff up.
That would have been amazing.
It looks like he could be capable of some larceny. He's like
a little Madoff vibe,
blending into society a little too well. Hello.
Allegedly. Let's just say allegedly.
Right. Michael Schwartner, I believe he was like a county clerk or something like that.
That's a front.
Yeah.
But anyway, the story that I read was
laundering.
That they were on their way to Mexico. Him and his family were.
Yeah.
For a vacation.
Here we go.
Tijuana, Tijuana.
So it's a family business. Family business.
And they stopped off in L.A. and he convinced his parents to go to the opening day, and with his cousins, and Christine was his cousin. So
they do olive oil down in Mexico too. I think that's a California thing.
Pollos Hermanos.
Yes, Pollos Hermanos.
Goofy breaks up the awkward exchange between Michael Eisner and Michael Schwartner and Christine to insert Michael Eisner into another awkward exchange with Tony Danza, who's blowing off this whole hosting gig to ride Jungle Cruise. As Tony gets ready to board, Eisner is asking him to come over and host, which I didn't understand why Eisner didn't just walk up to Tony in line and talk to him. He's really total power move here. He's making him come over here. Hey, get over here. It's time to host this thing. Come on, get over here. But I got to get on the ride here. Oh, my gosh. I got to go ride the Jungle Cruise. All right. No, you got to go host. Get over here. Goofy, go get him. But that's my Michael Eisner impersonation.
Sounded like John Travolta talking to Watto from Star Wars.
It is, that's something that I did not think about as far as the narrative structure when I was a kid. That I'm like, this is really silly. Like that he is asking him to come over so he can start hosting. But Michael Eisner's going toe to toe with Tony Danza as an actor.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Yeah.
So Tony finally comes over to Michael, leaves his place in line. Goofy's holding his place for them. They agreed that Goofy will go stand in line for Tony so he can come host. Tony rattles off all the ways he was blowing off Michael Eisner at the front of the park. Mike gives us a nice little look take as Tony's saying that he'd been riding all these rides instead of doing his job. He then hands the reins over to Tony, who pulls out a prepared speech from his pocket, complete with fanfare music.
Yeah, I love these. To talk about kind of like pomp and circumstance theme that comes on.
Goofy interrupts the speech to tell him that the Jungle Cruise is about to start, and we get Tony's catchphrase, "All right!" And he does it twice. So as he jumps on the boat, and we're introduced to to another character who looks very similar to another character we saw. And this character is called Coconut Charlie, who was something of a legend in my home.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And the Jungle Cruise gags commence. Michael, Jeff, any of these gags stick out to you?
Well, I think what sticks out to me overall is that how much of the Jungle Cruise shtick they do just like word for word. Like in a major television special, they just like go to the script of the ride. It's pretty interesting.
They pretty much go do the entire Jungle Cruise all the way through, pretty much, with some embellishments.
Well, that's the thing. As I'm watching it, I'm one of those people that's not a big fan of the Jungle Cruise jokes. I know I hear the hisses and boos already coming from the listeners, but it's just I always kind of thought it was a little too silly for me. But then when the dude falls in the crocodile, and it just gets the ridiculousness of that, and like the cobras and stuff. That actually, I was laughing out loud because that was.
This is where John Landis earns his paycheck on
this one. This is definitely this is John Landis through and through this.
I would also like to say that through this is a real tour de force for Tony Danza too.
Oh yeah, like Tony earns his paycheck in the like reaction shots.
Yeah, and the range. I love how stoked he is to go on the Jungle Cruise for so long and willing to give the benefit of the doubt for what goes on. It's great.
Yeah, he's like beaming. And like he's so proud to like be playing along with the jokes, and like he's so into it, and then he just starts to slowly be concerned that things are going awry.
So let me ask: are there any jokes from this that were put into the Jungle Cruise, or did they just take everything from the Jungle Cruise and put it into this?
I don't think anything got put into the Jungle Cruise from this. I think it was just inherited from the script, and then stuff that they added just for the show. There was one joke that I thought was really funny that I've never heard in the ride itself, where it's when the gorilla and the alligator are facing off over some fruit, and he's like, "Hey, it's a monkey, a lizard, and some fruit." And that's all he says. I thought that was really funny for some reason.
Yeah,
he's like, "Over here, we got a monkey, a lizard, and some fruit." And then it is.
I know it's a little sensitive, but when he starts shooting the gun like at everything,
yes,
man. I mean, I know there's one part in the Jungle Cruise where I forget what he shoots at, but when he starts shooting at everything and people start jumping in the water.
This is timely. I mean, they're redoing the Jungle Cruise right now.
Yeah, there's so much in this that's being taken out right now.
But that made me laugh. I just thought that was it seems just so ridiculous compared to
the gun thing. Yeah, I mean, they took that out a long time ago, the whole gun part. But
he's just like going off. He's just like feels like he just kind of went off script and just started shooting everything.
Yeah, it's hilarious. He's like got like Dirty Harry stance, and it's just
he's saying stuff like "Let that be a lesson to you."
Yeah.
Well, we get a lot of going back to the look takes. So we get a lot of Tony Danza look takes, and Tony's concerned as people are starting to die. And we get not now, I'm guiding here. So we get a lot of
he's like a New York
cab
driver.
A really good Charlie Fleischer shtick here, I think.
Let me say too that the guy behind Tony Danza also incredible in a completely different way. It's so amazing.
And I liked when they're on the boat. He's like, "All right, everyone lean right," and you can tell by everyone leans left, and then they all get wet.
And I mean, they get soaked. Yeah.
So there's another line where Coconut Charlie says, "Yay, you pay your nickel, you take your chances." Which is that became a constant for me to go to whenever
that's right
people were complaining.
Yeah,
that's right.
Pay your nickel, you take your chances. But yeah, just the start with the guy falling into the alligator with like the arm, just the fake arm in the alligator's mouth. It's so good.
Imagining, I mean, that's like that had to be in John Landis doing this whole thing, because imagining that being like pitched to Disney and being accepted.
Yeah,
like we're gonna do this thing where like all these people die on the Jungle Cruise.
So that brings me to like my point, my legality point here. So as part of my real 9-to-5 job, I produce videos and for a company, and I have to send everything through a legal team that I produce. And I'm sitting there just watching this, wondering how did they get this stuff past the lawyers? I mean, did John Landis say, "All right, so we're going to take a bunch of guests at the park and we're going to put them on the Jungle Cruise, and they're going to have a cast member brandish a firearm and unload a revolver at them." I mean, and they're all going to start dying.
I mean, I guess it's just. I mean, he was a person with a lot of, I don't know, he he carried a lot of weight, I guess you could say, and he cut a lot of ice.
I was going to say,
It's right.
a lot of ice.
John Landis cuts a lot of ice
he,
in Hollywood.
in Hollywood, and he could just get away with it. And I mean, things weren't as precious as they are right now, with everything having to be so like deeply sanitized.
Well, I didn't think
just any possible anything. And
obviously, I saw this as a kid. I didn't think, obviously, I mean, it was cartoonish enough to know that it wasn't real. So,
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that's kind of his hallmark, is going so over the top on some things that, it's clear that it's not real. So there's already a brand there of his kind of style, So maybe that helped.
So now for the most dangerous part of the ride, the return to civilization and the California freeway.
Michael, I had a question. Trader Sam, did he at one point have the tiki mask on, or did they put it on for the special?
I wondered that too. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something I need to look up, because I wondered that as well. I was surprised by that.
Yeah, because he did not have that mask on when I saw him. So interesting.
We fade up from commercial and we meet C-3PO, R2-D2, who are attempting to route satellites in order to connect to Miss Piggy, who's shooting a film in Europe. Tony arrives at Star Tours with the three little pigs, fans of Miss Piggy. We get some typical Miss Piggy gonzo gags, and Tony asks Piggy if she has any special memories of Disneyland, and we get a great, nope. Why?
Yeah, that was good.
That was good. It's just so bizarre what you just said. We're now watching C-3PO and R2-D2 trying to pull up a satellite to talk to Miss Piggy. That was just
I was going to say that, this is now, of course, Disney owns both of these companies, but at the time it was like, whoa, this is bringing in a lot of things that I like to the same space, and it's very strange.
Yeah, it's like worlds colliding in a big way.
Yeah.
Well, was there any talk? I mean, obviously they were talking to Henson at this point, and we're pretty close to making a deal with him. Was there any talk with Lucas at this point?
None that I've ever heard.
He was on top of the world.
Top of the world. Piggy recalls that one summer she visited Disneyland, and it had a profound influence on her career. So we flash back to Piggy, who is at Disneyland with some human friends, and Piggy wants to go shopping. And her friends,
At least they try here with their sweaters.
They try with them, with nobody else, but at least them. They're a little like old timey.
her friends want to go ride rides, and Piggy's shocked there are rides here, which is a good read, but it's classic Piggy. Moments later, Cinderella rides by, and Piggy ditches her friends. We never see them again, and she goes on a quest to seek her destiny to become Cinderella, who she was enamored with. And we want to make a mental note of the parade footage, because we'll come back to that later.
And music, yeah.
And music.
Yeah.
Can I also just want to say, though, that this has to be the most manly looking Cinderella I've ever seen.
Oh man,
We got stories there, Andy.
Oh, okay, great.
Well, I don't know if we're going to tell them here, but Jeff and I have stories about.
Okay, you can tell me afterwards.
Piggy approaches a familiar balloon salesman who happens to be well connected with the HR department at Disneyland and knows all the job postings. And he's able to get Piggy a job in the castle. Jeff, can you give us a little taste of some of the balloon vendor shtick there?
Hey, you got a balloons? You got a balloons over here. It's like,
What, you don't like a balloons? Come on.
It's Italian, very Italian.
He thinks he's Chico Marx, it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love it.
That's a good one, the boss.
It's so random.
I got a mouse shape of balloon.
I kind of feel like Fleischer and Landis were kind of made for each other. I mean, I feel like they probably fed off each other well.
I mean, I would have to say this is probably the highlight of Charlie Fleischer's career, especially after we watched Roger Rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is the role he was born to play. rolls.
Piggy gets a job washing the floor at the castle. Cinderella comes in and gives Piggy who's the new maid, a few seconds before she has to go face her awaiting public, much to Piggy's disgust.
Man, so to your point, Andy, this Cinderella is completely. Ugh. She is. I doubt she's in the Screen Actors Guild. Let me just say that. She is.
She had to have been a cast member. I mean, this is not.
I would hope so.
Yeah, this was them plucking a cast member off this, off the call sheet that day.
Some real slow reactions to everything that goes on.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And really terrible.
She's like, "Here, Piggy."
I did not notice her mannish ways.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that, but I picked up on the acting aspect.
Definitely the acting. Yes, that was problematic for me as well. Piggy wishes she could be Cinderella. Suddenly, Gonzo appears in a fairy costume and is going to grant Piggy 3 wishes. Piggy wishes Gonzo's nose would blow up, and poof, it's gone. She wishes she hadn't said that, and poof, it's back. After Gonzo misses his blown-up nose, she wishes he'd be more serious, and Gonzo transforms into an accountant, which got a really good laugh in my household.
I bet it did.
It was pretty funny.
Piggy headlocks Gonzo and forces him to help her become Cinderella. So Cinderella is strolling through the park saying, "Hello, how are you today?" to everyone that passes, because that's what she does, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, it was so ridiculous that I thought she was a man that I thought that was the gag. I thought that was going to be, yes. I was like, oh, okay. They got
a dude dressed up like Cinderella. That's
I
hysterical.
was so confused.
Hello.
Wow, yeah, that never occurred to me.
I'm sorry to that actress or whoever that was, but yes.
It was not an actor.
No,
Actor.
she was the cast. She had to be a cast member.
Okay.
So the Mr. Cinderella stops on a suspicious looking rope on the ground. Piggy, now dressed as Fidel Castro, and calls Gonzo to release the rope, trapping Cinderella. Gonzo's too busy hitting on 2 mute women who are also doing some really bad look takes.
Didn't get paid to speak.
I know they had to be guests. I mean, or cast members. I mean, they were.
I'm sure they were just extras.
Yeah, they plucked somebody off the street there because their look takes were really, really bad. And did you notice, this always blew my mind as a kid, but the climbers on the Matterhorn in the background?
Yeah, that was fun.
Around.
Yeah, I always thought that they had done this like as a gag for this until I found out that they actually just like people climb the Matterhorn. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like guest would, or would cast members would?
No. They have like climbers to do it.
They're dressed like alpine climbers. Yeah. So the snare grabs Piggy and the gig is up. Now Gonzo, dressed as a little boy in a pinwheel cap and sailor outfit, is posing as a lost child, and Piggy asks Cinderella to help this poor lost boy, to which Cinderella says she'll take care of it personally, and leaves with Gonzo. And Piggy yells, "I got everything under control!" We cut back to the same parade footage, same music, same everything from earlier.
Cracks me up.
Piggy is now in Cinderella's carriage. And back on Star Tours, Tony wonders what happened to Cinderella, and we find them. We cut back and we find Cinderella waiting at Lost and Found with Gonzo, who starts to hit on Cinderella, complimenting her nostrils and causing Cinderella to give some really, really bad look takes.
And like way slow. Like,
was so slow.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh my. Oh.
I mean, even as a kid, I remember going, "That's bad." Like,
Yeah. Oh
like
yeah.
Cinderella can't
for
act.
sure.
Like this is rough. So we fade up from commercial, and Tony's at Splash Mountain now, and Disney's newest attraction, which is really hard to believe that, because it feels like Splash Mountain's always been there. As Tony gives a heartfelt speech about Walt's dream in action, He keeps getting interrupted by a ringing phone. He finally picks up the phone. Who could it be? Is it President Bush? Is it a member of the Disney family? Maybe it's Annette or even Moochie. Nope, it's Ernest P Worrell, the goofy local commercial pitchman turned international celebrity, and his off-camera pal Vern.
I was so happy when Ernest showed up. In my notes, I was like, "Oh hell yeah, Ernest!"
Ay.
So my kids have seen Ernest Goes to Camp, and they would enjoy this as well. I haven't shown them this episode yet, but I think they'd get it. So Ernest is calling to join the celebration, and he has some old home movies of when him and his grandfather, Pop, went to Disneyland back in the day. This home movie has more memories than the fourth grade got spitballs. Know what I mean? A line that really hit close to home for me, as I was in the fourth grade at the time when this came out. And I really related to Ernest's humor back in the day, and I still do it on some levels. So as Andy had pointed out, so you were excited to see Ernest, as was I.
Yeah, but that excitement faded pretty quickly.
Oh, come on, man.
Oh,
No.
gosh.
Nope.
No, Robert, no.
Oh, I enjoyed some of this gags here.
No.
Oh.
Some of it works for me, but it goes on so long. It goes on.
Yeah, there's about 3 episodes. I'll give you that. They're definitely they could cut some of these out.
Yeah, if they cut out some of them, it'd be fine for me. But otherwise, way too much.
Pop and young Ernest, a kid wearing Ernest's signature denim vest, T-shirt, and nondescript ball cap, are in the parking lot talking to a camera and an unknown camera operator. Pop, of course, played by Jim Varney, is making their way to the tram. Pop is giving a long-winded speech about how important it is to be a bipod and how having 2 feet is great, and why if it wasn't for our feet, we'd just be a bunch of meat plants. All the while leaving Ernest behind to tie his shoe. Pop gets off the tram to find Ernest has caught up, out of breath. Why, if the tram ride excites you this much, I'm afraid to let you ride his other stuff. They decide to take a spin on Autopia, a grade school Hot Riders Nirvana. Which I actually used that line on my son when we rode. What do they call it now? It's changed names so many times at Magic Kingdom, but the Tomorrowland Speedway.
Speedway, yeah.
Yeah. So as young Ernest drives, Pop is confused and has his map out trying to figure out where they are. And we get a gag with a cop. I'll admit that was not too great.
I did think it was funny. He had a real tiny motorcycle.
I did point that out. That the officer did
yeah.
a small motorcycle.
I thought the cop was pretty funny. Yeah.
They move on to the carousel, get themselves a bite to eat. Get you a good old knock on that there as he holds a hot dog and Ernest tries to eat it.
This is always so disturbing to me.
It's so disturbing.
Yeah. So
Protein
gross.
is like rain. You just don't know how good it is until later, which was a weird line.
It's a weird scene.
It's a very weird scene. Like just that chewed up dangling hot dog was so upsetting.
So we go on to the motorboat cruise, which closed shortly after this. And Pop's trying to fly fish. So they're doing a wet or dry fly there, Andy.
I don't even remember. I don't think I was paying attention closely enough to care.
Yeah, young Ernest is trying to tie on a hook. Pop says, I caught a 200-pound marlin in a stream just exactly like this. He sets the hook, and we get a gag there. Of course, he thinks he's caught something. We cut again to...
I hated that when I was a kid. And I still hate it.
Yep. I thought the same thing. I did not care for that.
We get to the Matterhorn now. I did like this line.
This is good. Yeah.
One time, me, Bette Midler, and Edmund Hillary climbed way up to the top of the Matterhorn freehand. Bette Midler got ahead of us because she had just had that nail hardener put on.
That was good stuff.
So good. Yeah. Oh, that's Hall of Fame right there for me.
Pop falls over, and we get a bizarre first-person shot as young Ernest drops popcorn on him. We get a long shot that goes on way too long of them feeding topiaries, putting ham sandwiches in the topiaries.
Yeah,
I always
it's
think
a little
about
bit
that
too
when I
long.
see topiary now. Just putting a ham sandwich in the mouth.
At the ride queue, which Pop thinks is a maze ride, we get that goes on for a while. They decide, let's go get something to drink. With drinks and ham, Pop can't seem to get his straw in. He pulls out a drill with like a 2-foot bit on it and puts a hole through the cup. Young Ernest, the actor, seems to be fighting back laughter as he's doing this. They then take their adventure to the teacups, and we get a gag with him. Oh, there is a great line here. He says, Ernie, I used to date that old bag in the next teacup until I found out she voted for Coolidge.
So bizarre.
I kept wondering how much of this was ad-libbed. How much they were just cutting Jim loose on this, just to talk.
I would think a good deal.
It felt like almost
probably a
all
lot,
of it
yeah.
was. Yeah. I think they set up the scene and then they just let it go. Then they throw cream and sugar into the teacup, which made no
That's
sense
weird.
to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the absurdist stuff like that.
So back at Ernest's home, he's trying to wrap up the footage, and we get the typical Vern gag with a hand sticking a Disney address onto Ernest with a no return label. And then we wrap up our anniversary special. We have the Dapper Dans performing a Disney classic. Oh, wait, no, it's just DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince.
Oh, hi. And now, singing a Disney classic, here are DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince.
Man, that came out of nowhere. I was
Which
not
It
expecting
really
that.
does come out
which
of
nobody
nowhere.
could have predicted.
DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. Oh boy.
So, I do find it strange, that Will Smith's become, one of the biggest actors in Hollywood and has an Academy Award now. That you look at that and like, oh man, that guy's come a long way from.
From Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
So was he on the Disney label at that time?
No.
No, he was just in the culture, man.
So my notes here, I said this feels like a lot of. Well, first of all, they're out in front of Sleeping Beauty's castle with hip hop dancing chimney sweeps.
They were probably like,
They were very, very eager chimney sweeps.
Yeah, they are super into it.
this is probably like fresh off of He's the DJ and I'm the Rapper album. Is that the one with like
I have no clue. I'm not familiar with his discography.
Nightmare on My Street? That was this big hit at the time. Parents just don't understand.
Of course.
I will say that viewing it for this podcast was the first time in history that I actually watched all the way through this
Me too.
performance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
usually
we would
turn
always
it off
fast
as
forward
well,
through it or
yeah.
just cut it off because it was at the end of the special. So we just cut it off or fast forward through because I was offended deeply.
So there's some spectators that are dressed in all black that are clearly planted hip hop dancers in the
Some
crowd.
major hammer dance.
And they're doing a lot of walking man and hammer dance, lots of high leg steps and stuff. And then everybody else is just sort of standing there bobbing their heads. And like
Except
these
for
like
the chimney sweeps.
except for the chimney sweeps who are like way into it. And I my notes here, I said this feels very Michael Eisner. Like we have to have something the kids are gonna like.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah, they would later show this in the opening montage of the anthology series. Like they would show a clip from this. I thought it was interesting and did not remember that they show footage from Mary Poppins interspersed into the
Yes.
performance.
But I don't know if I couldn't find a lot about this song. And I couldn't find any lyrics to it except for a few just like they weren't complete. But he does. So I don't know who wrote it. If Will wrote it himself, or if he had, if Disney wrote it for him. But he uses the word anti-disestablishmentarianism in a rap. So I will doff my cap for that one. Whoever slipped that one in. And then he says something I couldn't find it anywhere. Monoflora massa type floricane as another word, which is all I couldn't make it out. But like, yeah, I used two huge words in the rap as words that are boring, but supercalifragilisticexpialidocious is not a boring word. Was sort of the whole gist of the rap. But so that wraps up the 35th anniversary special as Tony stands in front of a big 35th anniversary sign.
Well, folks, it's time to go. Thanks for joining our celebration of Disneyland's 35th anniversary. I had a great time. I'd like to thank all my fabulous guests. The great Miss Piggy, Ernest, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, the Three Little Pigs, President Reagan, Art Linkletter, Cinderella, C-3PO, R2-D2, my main man Mickey Mouse, Goofy, Disneyland's first guest Christine Grafe and Michael Schwartner, Vern, Gonzo, and especially my favorite jungle guide, Charlie Fleischer. Say goodnight, everyone. Good night.
Hey, I must say the past hour has been surprisingly delightful and also very enlightening.
Yeah, it's a pretty good special, wasn't it?
No, I mean watching all of you watch Mickey and his gang cavorting across the screen. I now understand the thought process our baby Frederick goes through whenever he sees a shiny object.
I think my favorite part of the show was when they had that lifelike audio animatronic figure of President Reagan rededicating the park. It is amazing what they can do with computers these days.
Woody, that wasn't an audio animatronic figure. That was President Reagan.
Wow, now I'm even more impressed.
Great. Now can we please go back to mud wrestling?
What a ride.
I wonder what happened to that giant 35th anniversary float thing that they had that they were on at the end.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell if that was. I mean, I assume it was in the park, or if that was like a prop somewhere else. I mean, there wasn't anything else to indicate that they were in Disneyland, but you would assume they were. I mean, you couldn't see the castle or anything else in the background.
Can't believe they didn't do the Will Smith thing at Videopolis.
I know, right? I had to have that castle there.
So, final thoughts. What'd you think?
I mean, I was glad it was only 45 minutes. Yeah, I guess which would have been an hour if on TV. But I mean, I've seen much worse, so I was like, okay, I was able to withstand it, no problem. I'm so callous to all these things now.
You've become desensitized.
Oh man. Well, I have forgotten nothing except I got to watch the Will Smith thing for the first time, and maybe since it came out, who knows?
Mm-hmm. It's funny that all three of us would turn it off then. Like I'd forgotten all about the Cheers ending. I mean, I think I'd watched it all the way through a few times, but
yeah, we must have fast forwarded through because I did remember the ending. So.
Yeah.
It did make me nostalgic for Tony Danza.
Yeah, Tony did great.
Yeah, I was like,
he did a really good job. Yeah, you're right.
Charlie Fleischer did great. I mean, Jim Varney did his thing.
Young Woody, not so much.
Old Woody did his thing.
Old Woody did.
Yeah,
Woody Harrelson.
Old young Woody.
Thing, yeah. Woody.
It was so weird to me when they were talking to Woody, and he's like, I was there on opening day, and Frasier's like, yeah, when it's 35 years, you weren't born yet. I'm like, man,
I know.
That's so messed up, Woody. Baby Woody.
Well, we're not done with the anniversary specials this summer. Summer of specials. And Andy, if you thought this was okay, but not, too bad, maybe in a couple of weeks I can change your mind with my selection.
I hate you.
I picked this one just for you, Andy.
No, wow. I've never seen this one.
Oh boy! Oh,
you all
boy.
are in
Oh,
for
boy.
a real treat in a couple of weeks. I'm going to have my selection, which is Kraft Salutes Walt Disney's 10th anniversary. As you can tell, it's going to be special if Kraft is saluting it.
Salute.
What the Kraft salute looks like. In the meantime, if you recall last summer, we had a little intervention in our podcast, interruption from another podcast that took over our feed, and that may happen in the near future. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a great summer, guys. Are you all excited about your picks?
I still haven't chosen yet. I'm holding out.
You're supposed to say that. Just say you're excited about it.
I'm excited. Well, I'm excited about the possibilities of what I might choose.
The possibilities are endless. Andy, I'm assuming you have something prepared to turn the tables on us?
I hope so. I hope I can find something that awful.
I'm sure you can. I have faith in you.
What do you all want to see us talk about or hear us talk about? Have us see to talk about. Send us an email, info@medfieldfilm.com. Let us know. We always like to hear your comments that you may have. You can find us at Medfield Film on Twitter and Instagram, and rate and review us on your podcast platform. But all those suggestions came in for season 3, and we are all set to go for that later on this fall. Robert, do you have a teaser for season 3 yet?
We are locked in and ready to roll, and I will tease that Dean Jones will be coming back in season 3 for maybe his best Disney film performance.
Well,
what could it be?
Right. You'll just have to wait and see, everybody. Be patient. Be patient. As always, Todd at Biden Graphics Solutions is our graphics guy. He's at it again with our new episode graphics. As always, the reliable Todd Naperick. Check out Todd's work. BydenGraphics.com. BYDAND. Graphics.com. Todd's going to make you look good. So stay tuned to this feed. Who knows what could happen? But we will be back in the near future with another Medfield College Film Society presents.
Proud are we of mighty Medfield, alma mater dear. All your sons and daughters hail to thee, Medfield College of Technology. And while we hold your banner high, rock, rock, we shout your praises to the sky, rock, rock. For proud are we of mighty Medfield.